One of the things we try to do on the news at 11 is hold the people who represent us accountable. Maryland voters decided money from casinos should go into our schools, but it hasn't gone according to plan. So where did that money go? You asked. So Adam Lago and the Verify team did some digging to find out.
Our Verify team is committed to getting you answers. Now, normally we determine whether something is true or false, but one of you asked us something that we just couldn't ignore about casino revenue, which was supposed to be a big boost to Maryland schools. But over and over, we've been telling the stories of teachers making tough sacrifices for our kids. So where did all that casino cash go? One of you asked our Verify researchers to follow the money.
If they don't have supplies, we're going to get supplies. If they come in and they don't have coats, we're going to get coats. So they really don't come needing a lot because they know they're going to get it. When I do my taxes, the tax guy is always saying, well, how much did you spend this year? It could be $300, it could be $500. Just find supplies for the kids, extra supplies.
The Baltimore City Schools new CEO came in and said, we've got a structural deficit of 80-some million dollars.
They didn't see the additional money. So they wanted to know, well, where is all the slots money going?
When Maryland voters approved casino gambling, they were made a promise that the proceeds would go to help Maryland schools. 10 years later, though, where's the money? So a viewer got in touch and said they wanted our Verify team to figure it out. In 2008, when slot machines were legalized, and again in 2012 with table games, casinos would pay taxes to the state. That money would go right into the education trust fund that was supposed to help enhance school needs. But this whole thing didn't happen the way people thought it would. The way the law was written, basically, schools got the same amount of money they were already getting. So check it. Let's say the state used to give $3 billion to schools. When that gambling money started rolling in, well, now the state would only pony up $2 billion, and casinos would give the other $1 billion. So schools would still be getting that same $3 billion, even though casino money was supposed to be extra, supposed to be a big boost.
It did go to education, so that was not a myth. It went to education, but it did not go to education on top of the formula.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The thought going into this was that the state was going to contribute what the state has always contributed.
Right.
And the money from casinos was going to be
on
icing on the cake.
That's right.
More money.
That's right. That's exactly.
And that wasn't happening.
That's not what Marylanders thought when they saw these advertisements.
Can Maryland afford not to pass slots this November?
It pumps millions into public schools and colleges every year.
It will mean hundreds of millions of dollars for our schools. As governor, I can promise you that money will go to education.
Voters would take away that there was a shell game being played.
Sean Johnson is the government relations director at the Maryland State Education Association. He says state lawmakers in Annapolis were equally confused.
I think there was a lot of frustration from elected officials, particularly members of the General Assembly, who could see that this shell game was being played, first with Governor O'Malley and more recently with Governor Hogan, that they really were struggling with how can we fix it.
According to Maryland Lottery and Gaming, every year about 30% of all casino revenue goes toward the Education Trust Fund. Since 2008, casinos have given over $3 billion to the fund, but another $1.9 billion from the state would have gone to schools if not for the casinos. That's according to data from the Maryland Department of Legislative Services. Governors O'Malley and later Hogan redistributed that $1.9 billion into the state budget. So instead of going to schools, the money went to hospitals, roads, and other stuff. These Baltimore City lawmakers are the reason classrooms everywhere will eventually start to see more state money. They wrote a referendum on the 2018 ballot called the Lockbox. It's now a constitutional amendment, and that means no one, not even the governor, can reallocate money that's designated for education. But it's not all going to happen at once. Right now, when people ask, hey, is all the money from casinos going into education? On this day, the answer has to be no.
No. It's a phase-in process, but each year it graduates up until we reach the full amount of all of the money that's in the Educational Trust Fund.
So what's the setting?
At NASA.
Okay, and what's going on at NASA?
Teachers like Miata Brooks Carter at Glass Manor Elementary in Oxon Hill are going to need to wait a little longer until July to see that boost. Their sacrifice means everything to our kids.
I can't do it, Mr. Foster. I'm sorry.
When we get home, we still have papers to grade. We still have to go out and buy books. We still have to think about our kids. So it's a lot, but that's okay. Because I know they will be a doctor that I may go to when I retire, so I have to make sure that they're ready for the future.
Our Verify researchers reached out to Governor Hogan's office. They refused an on-camera interview with us. However, a spokesperson told us in a statement, quote, that since Governor Hogan has taken office, he's invested a record $25 billion in K-12 education, more than what the legislative formulas require. This includes more than $1.8 billion in funding from the Education Trust Fund. If you've got something you want verified, reach out to me directly with those questions. You can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Twitter at Adam Longo TV. I'm on Instagram as well at Adam Longo. You can also email the team, verify@WUSA9.com.